How many years in prison would everyone from Velma get for their crimes? And no, I don't mean the writing staff. So this version of the legal analysis will be a little bit different, since we have an overarching plot with just two main villains, with most of the crimes coming off screen. But for Season 1, it's revealed that Victoria Jones, Fred's own mother, is the Crystal Cove killer, to try and find a suitable brain to switch into Fred's body, giving Jones Gentleman's Accessories someone competent enough to run it. Also, Victoria joins a small group of confirmed serial killers in the Scooby-Doo franchise, with our trio of cat creatures from Zombie Island, Simone, Lena, and Jacques. Brenda's the first one to fall, with her body being placed into Velma's locker to implicate her, while also removing her brain to keep as the potential heir. On top of that, Norval and Velma find Krista's de-brained body in her garbage, and all of this happens in the first episode alone. Lola becomes the third and final murder victim in episode 4, but that's nowhere near the end of Victoria's reign of terror. Actually, if anything, as Velma grows closer to cracking the case, she ramps up her violence a bit. She attacks Daphne's birth mother Carol down in the Crystal Mines, before continuing down the bloodline to attack Daphne and Velma at Fogfest, almost cutting the show short right here by stabbing the titular character. Somehow, her blade gets swapped out with a churro, and Sophie's newborn gets the knife instead. Once the girls run into Fred and Norval, she takes one last swipe at them with the knife, before just taking off with the Fog King crown. You know, that's fine. Fred just finds another one in the trash, and hits the funhouse to show it off, getting attacked one last time. Sometime later, he wakes up locked down in the basement lab inside of his own home, where all three of the deceased girls' brains are. He's left to his own devices down there with no food or water, which I'm sure Child Protective Services wouldn't get on board with. But luckily, with the help of his friends and Velma's mom Dia, he escapes. Speaking of Dia, Victoria hypnotized her with his pocket watch, forcing her to do all types of illegal science involving the slain girl's brains, keeping her down in the basement of Jones Manor. Which brings me to my first point of contention. The girls' brains are technically still active. We see them around town and school a bunch, so were they really murdered? I'm going with yes. Mostly because this is science fiction. There's no way that this would be viable in real life. And also because it makes my final numbers look good. Look, I'm no better than the average YouTuber. I cook the books too. I don't think it'll matter too much, especially when she kidnaps Daphne and Fred and takes them back to the underground lab, attacking Velma when she tries to untie them. Luckily, she's hard countered by perfume, and some help from the bats doesn't hurt either, which leads to her capture. Unfortunately, she still got her husband William under her spell, knocking Velma out and putting her up on the table instead. Fred does manage to get the gun from William, but Victoria uses this as her escape opportunity, ensuring that no one follows her when she throws the lantern down, causing the place to go immediately up in flames. Fred saves the girls and goes to chase her down, but ends up curling back up to Mommy's side pretty quickly, handing the gun back over to her. Norval got Velma's voicemail and tracked her back to this cave, but as he rappels down, Victoria goes to shoot him, and admittedly in a pretty sweet move, he parries the bullet, deflecting it into a stalactite, dropping it straight on Victoria, killing her pretty much instantly. She does stick around as a ghost in Season 2 to torment the gang a little bit more, but for what it's worth here, she just wants Fred to stand up to her and set her free. So, to recap, we got her for the murders of Brenda, Krista, and Lola, plus the unethical human experimentation on them, the attempted murders of Daphne, Fred, Norval, Velma, and William, various assaults, both with and without weapons, kidnappings, child abductions, and false imprisonments, an assortment of child abuse charges, of course menacing, arson, theft, and the enslavement of Dia, resulting in 10 life sentences and 285 years in Crystal Cove Prison for Victoria. Oh yeah, she died. Damn. No biggie, because at the end of Season 1, a new killer is introduced, this one targeting all the middle-aged men in town instead. It's everyone's favorite little nephew, Scrappy-Doo! The first one to go is Sheriff Cogburn, but it's quickly followed by Mr. S, who's attacked in his apartment in the first post-credit scene of the season. 2 morticians fall in the next episode, and another one in episode 3 down in the sewers. So this season is really upping the body count. Father O'Rourke makes it an even half-dozen villains, but that's just the start of this rampage, as Scrappy trails the field trip bus and punctures the tire, causing the entire thing to flip, injuring at least 19 kids inside, and 1 dog-on-dog crime. Velma gets kidnapped and taken back to his evil lair, to try and convince her that this is all on Don, Gigi's father, who he attacks when he pops out of the stripper cake. Look, there's a lot going on that's not pertinent to this series, but just know that it's bizarre. Scrappy's hard countered by vacuum cleaners and taken over to the jail, but manages to escape with the help of some of his buddies, killing Merle and another jailer before heading over to the dual wedding for Dia and William and Amon and Sophie. Speaking of Sophie, she's actually revealed to be helping Scrappy, dressed as Uncle Scooby, with an eye. We first saw her pop up in the first episode of the season, tackling Velma in the cemetery, and she's the one that's responsible for moving all the men's bodies around. But she only did this to protect her family from Scrappy, which I was actually going to give her a break for, but we do see her in prison at Velma's funeral, so she's probably in there for 62 years. Oh yeah, spoilers I guess, but Velma dies via Scrappy's ult attack. He also crashed the wedding, attacking 3 guests and scaring off the rest. He runs to attack the rest of the survivors, but the military made him bulletproof, so the only thing stopping him is Velma possessing him, which does finally bring an end to his terror. He came in like a whirlwind and absolutely wrecked everything, so pretty average Scrappy time actually. But he did manage to rack up all the murders of the men, the attack on the bus full of kids, leading to Velma's kidnapping, and the attack on the wedding and all the guests, resulting in him also getting 10 life sentences and 187 more years in prison. Oh yeah, he died too. Well, no matter. We still have the Halloween special at least. Evelyn dresses up as the Black Knight, taking the Halloween costume of our first victim, Jeff, to pin the rest of her 13 murders on him. She attacks Fred and Orville at Sweetie's concert, which is even worse because Fred's technically on security duty. So now she has free reign to tear the stage down, nearly killing Sweetie and her backup dancers, and causing about 200 partygoers to scatter. But it's when she raises her army of the dead with her spellbook when the fun really starts, attacking another 20 people before her takedown by Velma, giving her 21 life sentences and 1,248 years in prison to— oh, Velma killed her. Okay, well, Velma, if you like killing people so much, let's do your crimes then. Velma actually commits way more crimes than you'd expect, as pretty much our first scene shows her attack Daphne in the showers, before breaking into Fred's house later on. But when the police suspect her of having something to do with the murders, she ditches the cops with Daphne and runs off. Instead, Fred gets blamed, but Velma, having a hallucination when going to visit him, sees her banned from the prison. She does do a little bit of property destruction, but it's when she wrongly suspects Lamont Rogers of being the killer that she fully swats the Rogers home, while also neglecting her babysitting duties. She breaks into the Jones estate once more before solving the murders, but with Victoria's ghost still roaming around, she has to double check to see if she's actually dead. So she heads over to the cemetery to dig her up, which we already know Sophie interrupted, but we didn't know that Velma hits Fred with a shoe. Oh, the horror! She breaks into the school with Daphne to rig a random lottery draw, makes some random lobsters fight to the death like Mike Vick in 07, and steals Gigi's father's keycard on the military base to access an unauthorized area. All of this results in a 48.5-year sentence in— oh yeah, she's dead too. Man, can I get anyone here? Daphne is a drug dealer for like an episode, and she stabs a girl in the self-defense tournament. So with the breaking and entering, that's good for 18 years. And she didn't die, so that's good. Her birth parents stay deep in the crystal mines, kidnapping her to help them out for a bit before almost turning on her before their capture. Her mom did get away, so she'll add that charge onto a 21-year sentence. Fred was wrongly sent to prison for the murders at first, but incited a riot at prison to escape. When he was kidnapped by Victoria, he did kind of kill a bunch of rats trying to roast them, but we'll call this survival tactics. 10 years in prison. Norval might be the hero for killing Victoria, which I will concede was self-defense, but he did poison his chili for the cook-off, affecting Fred and at least 6 officers. So 35 years for you, Norval. And finally, Velma's dad Amon breaks house arrest and steals the bus the kids took to get to Sacramento. Which, if he is stranding them in Sacramento, that might as well be a death sentence, but just 6 years for him. And I think that's just about everyone. This one was a lot of fun to do, and that marks the final Scooby-Doo show for this legal analysis series. Eventually, I will get around to all the animated movies, and I've got something else for all these shows still to come, so I really hope you stick around for that. If you want to check out what that next series is, I'll have it up first on the Patreon, so you can head over there with the link below or in the card above. And you can join all these fine people who help support the channel. Thank you, as always, for watching the series, and I'll see you for whatever's next. And, bye!